There's something nice about getting to know someone over a meal or drinks. It's not just something you do with random people, but also with potential romantic partners. You want to get to know this person, after all, and the best way to do that is via getting them talking. However, it can be challenging and nerve-wracking at the same time. How exactly do you keep things going? What topics of discussion should you bring up? What if nothing comes to mind? We've all been in such situations before, and that is why we're here today. To help you out in your next date, we have compiled a list of 8 topics that will go easy on your nerves while also allowing you to get to know your partner even better. Travel. There's no better way to open up the conversation than to talk about travels. Maybe you've been on a few short vacations, or you've done a year-long backpacking trip across Europe. Perhaps you're planning an upcoming vacation and you want to talk about it, or maybe you just want to discuss the possibility of taking a vacation with a friend in the near future. The great thing about travel is that it crosses all boundaries. No matter who you are, where you come from, or what you do for a living, there's a pretty high chance you've been on a trip or 2 in your lifetime. The variety of topics you can explore here is endless. You can discuss your favorite destinations, the best travel experiences you've had, and so much more. Food and dining. Food is one of the most basic and essential parts of our lives. It's also something we can talk about for hours on end without running out of topics. The great thing about dining out is that you don't have to just stick to the topic of food. You can discuss almost anything, from your work environment to your plans for the future. If you're in a long-term relationship, for instance, you can also use this topic to discuss your feelings about the relationship and see if your partner feels the same way too. And if you're on a first date, you can use this topic to explore other topics. For example, if you find out that your partner is an aspiring chef, you can use that as a jumping-off point to discuss their dream of becoming a chef and their thoughts on the industry as a whole. Movies and TV shows. We all have our favorite shows and movies, and they are a great way to break the ice and make a connection with your partner. You can discuss your favorite movies and TV shows, how they make you feel, and why you think they're so great. You can also talk about what you'd like to watch in the future. If you're on a first date, you can also use this as a discussion starter for other topics. For example, if you find out that your partner likes action movies, you can use that as a jumping-off point to talk about their interests and what they do for a living. Books and reading. If you're a bookworm, you might want to use this topic to talk about the book you're currently reading or have recently finished. You might also want to discuss the books your date likes to read. You can also discuss the last book you reviewed or what you're planning to review in the near future. If you're on a first date, you can also use this topic to talk about your partner's favorite books and what they think about them. You can also take this opportunity to talk about your partner's interests and what they do for a living. Activities you enjoy. This is a broad topic that works well for people of all ages and interests. If you enjoy playing sports, for instance, you can discuss the last game you played in, your favorite sports, and what you love about them. You can also discuss your favorite hobbies and what you do to stay busy when you're not at work. If you're on a first date, you can also use this topic to talk about your partner's hobbies, how they stay busy, and what they like to do when they're not at work. Sports. If you're a sports buff, you can probably talk about this topic all day long. Use this topic to discuss your favorite sports, how they're played, and why you love them. You can also discuss your least favorite sports and what you don't like about them. If you're on a first date, you can also use this topic to talk about your partner's favorite sports, the teams they support, and what they like about them. You can also use this topic to talk about your partner's interests and what they do for a living. Health and fitness. This is a great topic for people who are health conscious or professionally involved in the fitness and health industry. You can discuss your favorite workout routines and why you love them. You can also discuss your least favorite forms of exercise and what you don't like about them. You can also use this topic to talk about your partner's interests and what they do for a living. Surprise! Something that doesn't require talking. If you've been on a few dates with the same person, you might want to mix things up and try talking about something that doesn't require talking. For example, you can play a game of 20 questions. You can also engage in an activity that doesn't require any talking, such as trying a new board game or visiting a nearby museum. After all, talking about a variety of topics is a great way to get to know someone better. However, it can also be exhausting to talk about something for hours on end. That's why it's a good idea to mix things up and try something different every once in a while. And if all else fails, you can always resort to talking about the weather.